Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Nexus 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Fem Akatsuki and Tsunade got Harem with Smart Naruto Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. I am lying down on the roof of my old apartment block looking up at the cloud-filled sky. I have only been back here for a week from the 3-year-long training with the pervy sage. It feels as if I have never left this rotten village, what with Sakura still punching me, the villagers still calling me a lowly demon. I don't even know why I bothered to come back. This village will never change. My thoughts are cut off once I notice that an Anbu officer has landed beside me. I raise an eyebrow at them wondering why they could be here as I haven't done anything yet. The Hokage has sent me to tell you that you need to come to the council room. The Anbu with a bear mask says to me before he fades from my sight. I might as well see what she wants. Leave us all alone, you demon. I hear as I jump down off of the room before I slowly start to make my way over to the council L room as I don't feel in the mood to deal with the old farts on the council. Once I make it to the council room I open the door without knocking as they are waiting for me. I make my way inside only to see a sight that I thought would be impossible. What the? Why is that traitorous Tem here? I call out as Sasuke is standing in the middle of the room in a light brown kimono that is tied together with a purple rope and black pants. Sasuke was found at the entrance of Konoha and he came willingly as a part of his old team. We thought it best for you see his sentence. Tsunade says to me with her arms crossed and I can tell that she isn't happy to see him back here either. I let out a sigh as I take a seat near the door. Would you please care to explain to the council before you on why you had fled the village 3 years ago? Danzo asks him with a raised eyebrow. The snake just crosses his arms over his chest with a smirk. What is that Tem planning to say or do to get himself out of trouble? I left so that I could grow in power, then the village could grow in power as well. After I finished training with Orochimaru I escaped and came back to the village to make it stronger. I feel sick at that lie of his. It is so fake that not even the civilians would believe that bullshit. We find that Sasuke Uchiha should be cleared of all charges against him and that he be promoted to Junin. Danzo says and the civilian side agree with him. I see that she doesn't from the pure hatred in her eyes at Sasuke, but there is nothing that she can do as they outnumber her. Fine then, since there is over half of the council that agree, it is settled. The Uchiha is free of all charges and is now a Junin of Konoha once more. Is that all? Tsunade says with a dark growl lacing her voice with ki to the delight of almost everyone in the room, most of all the Uchiha. That is bullshit. Do none of you remember how he had betrayed this village, or how about when he shoved a Chidori through my chest? I scream with pure hate. The room is silent for a moment or two before the council gets into an uproar about me being a filthy demon again. Silent. Now is this meeting over? Tsunade calls out with a glare before Danzo clears this throat to get the room's attention. I narrow my eyes at the old fart. What is he planning to do now? Actually, Lady Tsunade, we would like to talk to you about your replacement for the next Hokage while we are all here. Danzo says with most of the civilian council nodding along with him. I have already picked the next Hokage. I don't. Tsunade starts to him with a glare and her fingers start to twitch, meaning she wants to hit a certain someone that is named Danzo right now. You see, we see that it would be a better idea that Sasuke be the next Hokage instead of the previous choice. Danzo says, and I notice that Sasuke is smirking over at me with a cold look in his black eyes. I was truly pissed now. How dare they give that snake asshole the next Hokage? I would rather go to hell before I ever give the next seat of Hokage to him. Tsunade yells out as she stands up with her hands on her desk with a lethal glare at the council with a bit more ki. You have no choice in the matter, as it was already disused in a secret meeting that he will be the next Hokage. Danzo tells her with a smirk, thinking that he has won. I look over at her to see that she is just barely holding herself back from ripping this up council into little tiny pieces. That is bullshit. This asshole of a slimy traitor comes back here and all of a sudden you're kissing his. This is all utter bullshit. I scream at council as I make my way to stand next to the only person in this room that is on my side, Tsunade. Maybe she can be able to join. Naruto, you idiot, how dare you talk about Sasuke like that into his face. Sakura screeches at me as she pulls her arm back in a punch. When did she get here? As she throws her punch at me, I am able to catch it in my hand before Tsunade's hand was able to stop the punch herself. I am done with your shit, you pink-haired whore, and I am done with this whole village. I growl out as I throw Sakura down into the ground. Before I made my way out of the room, I pass her a small note that the rest of the room did not see. I really do hope that she is able to join us. Tsunade's POV. As I watched the boy, no young man that reminded me so much of my younger brother and my dead lover that I can't but feel like I had failed him, I realize that I have a note in my hand. All right, everyone out. I yell as I am still the Hokage. They all listened and left me to my thoughts. Once they are all out of the room, including that brat the Uchiha, I open the note before me. Tsunade. I know that you are one of the few people that had truly cared for me. I had a feeling that this would happen when I got back, so I am leaving this place for good. Please don't stop me, as you know that this village will never change, but if it's not out of line, I would like you to find all of those who truly care about me. The only two out of the rookie 12 is Shika and Kiba, so get their help to find those that truly cared and meet me in a few days just outside of Konoha. I beg of you one last time, don't stop me when I try to leave, and even though I have called you Granny, I have never meant it, as I have developed feelings for you. I hope to see you in a few days. Love, Naruto. I have tears running down my cheek as I read over the note Naruto gave me. I hadn't failed him. Oh Naruto, I should never had left so that you didn't have to suffer while growing up. My lady Shikamaru and Kiba are here to see you. One of my Anbusei returning me back to reality once again. I nod my head to him ever so slightly to signal that they can be let in now. Tsunade, we just saw that Sasuke is back in the village and we had a bad feeling. Kiba says as Akamaru lets out a soft whimper at what Kiba said. Naruto, it seems they are your real friends. You would be right about having a bad feeling, Kiba, as Naruto has decided to leave the village for good this time. The council thought it would be a good idea to not only let Sasuke back but to make him the next Hokage instead. I tell them they are shocked for a few seconds before their eyes gain a sharp and feral look in them. I almost feel sorry for the council members, almost. After everything that bastard did. After he had almost killed Naruto so that he could leave the village, they let him back in. Kiba and Akamaru both growl out, showing their teeth. Shikamaru looks as if he is thinking of 1,000 ways to get back at the council in this rotten village. There has to be more than him just leaving the village. This is Naruto we are all talking about here. Shikamaru says to me with that bored tone of his, you can't get anything past him it seems, and it's a good thing that he is on Naruto's side instead of being against him like the others. You are right about that, Shikamaru. Naruto has asked us to find all of those that are truly loyal to him and to meet up within a few days just outside of the village. I say to the two boys before me with my arms crossed, and I give them a slight smirk as they share a look with each other. That does sound extremely like something Naruto would do or say. Shikamaru says with a slight nod of his head as Kiba calms down a little with hearing what both Shikamaru and I had said. So is that our plan then, Lady Tsunade? We find out who is a true friend of Naruto and then we meet up with him in a few days? Kiba asks me with a raised eyebrow. I nod my head in agreement as I start going over in my head who we might find to be a true and loyal friend to Naruto. That is correct. This will be your mission, but no one is to find out. Do you understand me? I say with a serious tone, and they both give me a nod before I wave them off to start this mission. Naruto's POV. I am now back in my small rundown and destroyed apartment, thinking over what had happened back in the council room and how that joke of a council have pissed me off for the last time. I pack what is important to me into my storage scrolls before I place them into my backpack, as I plan to leave this place once night falls over the village. I really do hope that Tsunade does listen. I decide to write a few letters to my friends explaining on why I am doing this, and I will write another letter to Tsunade explaining some things more in much more depth than in the last one as well. There hopefully I will see them in a few days. I mutter once I am done writing. I realize that it is nightfall, so I create 3 shadow clones and hand them each a letter to deliver them. I pick up my backpack, put it on, and head towards the gate. I know that I'm being followed by Anbu and that they most likely belong to the council in Danzo. They will be coming after me soon. Naruto, wait. I hear someone call my name. I turn around to find that it was Tsunade with Kiba and Shika on either side of her, and they all are close to tears at seeing me leave. I notice that the council and Sasuke along with the rest of Team 7 show up, and I cross my arms at them. Naruto, what has gotten to you? You're not thinking clearly. Kakashi tries to reason with me with his hands up in a surrender fashion, but I scoff at him with a cold-hearted glare laced with Ki. Why don't you shut it? You're just as bad. You spent all your time teaching Sasuke, plus you taught him your own jutsu while you left me and Sakura to train ourselves. You are no more than trash, showing favoritism to that snake. I growl out much like a fox showing my fangs at my so-called teacher. I see that Tsunade, Kiba and Shika have this look in their eyes as if they failed me. They could never fail me, as I know that they have tried to do their best and help me when they can. You Baka, how dare you say something like that to our sensei? Apologize right now. ? Quote. Sakura yells as she is about to walk up and punch me in the face before a large fireball is fired at her. It hits the ground before her, knocking her back with a few burns as someone lands next to me from out of the shadows. It is Itachi, Uchiha Sasuke's older sister. She has long black hair that is tied into a ponytail, light brown eyes. She is wearing a cloak that is black with red clouds, and she has D size. She smirks over at her younger brother as he glares at her with his Sharingan active. Itachi. Sasuke growls out as he charges at her until he was kicked back. When he regains his balance, he sees that it was Kisame. She has short blue hair, blue eyes, blue skin with 3 gill marks on each cheek. She also wears the same cloak, and she has slightly bigger than Itachi. You should have used a stronger attack, Kisame says. She has a sword on her back. The blade was wrapped up, and at the end of the handle is a small skull. She is carrying another cloak and 2 pouches in her hands. At seeing the 2 Akatsuki members, the Konoha nin get into their stances ready for an attack, but Kisame just walks over to me and hands me the cloak and pouches. So she sent the 2 of you out here to pick me up then? I ask the pair as I put the pouches on my legs and the cloak. I turn to look at them both, and Itachi nods her head in a small nod. Yeah, she thought we were enough to get you, Kisame says to me with a smile as she stretched, puffing out her chest. I can see that Tsunade is a bit confused along with Kiba and Shikamaru. Naruto, what the hell is going on? Please, I just want to understand. Tsunade says to me with wide worried hazel eyes, and I really do hope that she find my second letter and really soon. What do you think? When that pervert was gone chasing skirts, that I would just sit and wait around like a lost puppy to get trained by him? I ask with a cold tone, and I mentally flinch at her watery gaze at me before my attention to bot over to Kakashi as he takes a step forward. But thereafter, the Kyuubi Naruto, they are just using you, please understand that. Kakashi tries to warn me, but it just makes me laugh darkly at their weak attempt to get me to stay here. The Kyuubi is gone. I start to explain as the whole group before me gasp, minus Sasuke, who is seething at me, and Itachi. You see, when the 4th Hokage sealed the Kyuubi into me, the seal also slowly drains his power, but the Kyuubi found out about my detest for this village, and so he gave me all of his power instead of letting the seal slowly drain the chakra. But when the Kyuubi gave me all his chakra, it changed me. I finished explaining with a feral grin as I let my hinge drop to reveal the real me to them. I don't want this to scare those loyal to me away. I am now a little bit taller. My hair is a little bit longer with red tints, and my blue eyes are now red with slits in them. I have 2 golden with red tips fox ears, and I also have 9 golden colored with red tips fox tails. Everyone can feel the change in my chakra, so they now know that I am a lot stronger. So big deal, the Kyuubi gave you its power, you will still be the dead last. I glare at Sasuke, who is smirking. I notice that Tsunade takes a slow step forward with her hands in a surrender pose. Naruto, if this is about the council earlier today, then I am sure that she starts to say to me with wide eyes and a soft tone of voice. I am truly sorry, Tsunade, but this is not my home. That is only one reason of many, but since I know that you won't give up even though I asked you, I'll make you a deal. A fight me versus Sasuke that no one interrupts, and if Sasuke wins I'll come back with no resists, but if I win I can leave. I say, and from the look on Sasuke's face he decides to take me up on the challenges. He makes his way over to me with Sakura fangirling behind him. This will be really easy, Sasuke says smugly as everyone takes a step back so that we can fight. I just stand here till Sasuke charges up his Chidori before he runs towards me. I just smirk as I vanish from sight, making Sasuke stop his Chidori and look around as he activated his Sharingan just as 3 of my foxes shot out of a bush and ran straight at him. Sasuke pulls his sword out and slices the 3 foxes as they jumped at him. He looks at them before he notices that they are gray. They are made out of clay, Sasuke calls out as the 3 foxes explode, sending Sasuke back as he slams into a tree. I make my way out of the bush that my 3 clay foxes had come out of. How do you like the explosive clay? One of the many tricks I was taught on my training trip, I say to him with a smirk on my lips that pisses Sasuke off even more as he starts to do hand signs. Fire style. Fireball JUSTU. Sasuke calls out before he puts his hands to his lips and spits out a fireball just as I start doing my own hand signs to counter the fireball heading towards me. Water style. Water shield. I call out just as a large blast of water comes out of nowhere and hits the fireball, covering the whole area in steam from the 2 justice colliding before us. Sasuke increases his speed and he runs at me before he swings his sword, thinking that he has finally won this little fight of ours. Before his sword it's stopped by one of my tails, shocking him greatly. What the? He mutters in a shocked tone before he is blown backwards as a clay bird blows up in front of him, and before he can recover I attack him with a Rasengan into his stomach. Utterly pathetic. I had thought that he at least would put up a fight, I say as an Anbu caught him before I make my way back to the 2 women waiting for me just outside of Konoha's gate. Naruto, please wait. I hear Tsunade starts to call out to me, but it's too late as the moment that Kisame and Itachi place a hand on my shoulders, the 3 of us disappeared from sight of Konoha and her people. I slowly make my way back to my place. Once it was agreed that there will be a meeting tomorrow morning after we had a good night's sleep. As I enter my home I head towards my room so that I can go to sleep and forget that Naruto has left us all for good and that I am alone again. I open my door only to notice that a single letter is on my pillow sitting so innocently. I pick it up and from the writing on the letter lets me know the letter was left for me from Naruto, but why? Tsunade. I wish I was able to tell you all of this in person, but I don't think that will be possible with who I am. I'm sure that you will be there when I leave, so you have already seen what I really look like. I didn't want you to find out that way. I had wanted to tell you about it myself in a few days. I have also wrote a letter to both Shikamaru and Kiba explaining things to them as well. The Akatsuki aren't using me, I promise you that. They are the only ones that truly know of my pain to be outcasts besides the other tailed beasts Jinchuriki. I had come across one of the members of Akatsuki while Pervy Sage and I were in a small village and he was chasing women again. At first she didn't realize who I was, so we just started to talk, and then when she told me about her childhood and how it was similar to mine, I just knew that there was nothing for me here. Only a few people will be free of my wrath, and I hope you can find them and meet me in a few days so that I can keep you all safe. I meant what I said in the last note I gave you about my feelings. The last thing I want to tell you in this is that I have never blamed you for not being here as a child, nor have you ever failed me. It has always been this rotten and corrupted village, I promise you. I hope to see you in a few days just outside of the village. Love, Naruto. I have tears running down my cheeks as I read over the letter that I found. It was the village's fault, not mine, that he left. Lady Tsunade, are you in there? I hear Kiba knock on my door. I make my way to the front door of my home and open the door to see that both Shikamaru and Kiba are standing before me. Come on in. I think we have a few things that we need to talk about. I say to them as I allow the two boys in before I close the door behind them and we all take a seat in my main room. Did you get a letter from Naruto as well? Kiba asks me and I nod as I show them my letter. In turn they show me their own letters that our favorite blonde have left us to explain things. So it was the village that had caused him to leave and not the three of us. Also anything that he said before he left was not meant to us. Shikamaru says with his arms folded before him. Kiba and I share a look and I feel another weight lifted off of my chest what Shikamaru had just said. Alright, so now that we know that he felt as he was more accepted with them, then here what is the plan? Kiba asks as Akamaru lies down by his feet with a soft whine leaving him. I look down at my letter once again before I look at the two boys sitting with me with a determined look. We stick to the plan. We find those who truly cared for him and meet up with him in a few days, but I will need the two of you to keep an eye on the other Konoha 12 just in case. I tell them with my arms crossed over my chest and they nod their heads as they agree with my words. That is understandable. What with Kiba and I being the only ones to get a letter besides you from him, then that means that the others are not to be trusted, at least not yet anyway. Shikamaru says with a sigh leaving him. I stand up from my seat with a sigh of my own leaving my lips. The two of you do what you must to make sure that the others and the Rotten Council don't suspect that you are in fact on Naruto's side. I suspect that I won't be in the seat of Hokage much longer, but that is fine as it Naruto was my reason to take the seat to begin with. I tell Kiba and Shika with a narrowed gaze laced with the smallest amount of ki and they nod their heads. Understood. We will let you know if we find anything. They both say to me with a bow at the waist before they leave for the night and I head off to bed to get some sleep for tomorrow. The next morning I am in the meeting room as the council is in a blaze with arguments on what to do next. Some want Naruto to be killed, some want him to be captured so that Sasuke can get his revenge on the blonde, and some, Danzo, just want to have him be turned into a weapon. Shut up. I have had it with all of you arguing. I yell at the council before me as I slam my fist down on my desk with a deadly glare at the fools all sitting before me in this council room. Well, what do you think we should do then, Lady Tsunade? One of the elders asked me and I give them the motion that I am thinking over. My next course of action would be to buy some time. On to what we should do about Naruto becoming a rogue ninja. I recommend that we capture him and persuade for him to come back. I say as they all share a look before agreeing. I watch as they put him in the bingo book as an S-rank ninja to be captured and brought back alive. I hope that this will be able to delay what this village has for him, and that when we meet in a few days that I might be able to tell him something that I should have told him before he left the village. Naruto's POV, unknown location. Itachi, Kisame and I have just passed a lake to make our way into the village hidden in the clouds. Although there are storms pouring down on the lake in the village, it is a bright sunny day. As I follow the two girls I notice that the villagers all stop to bow while some wave. They even did it to me, and here I thought that my home village could change, as if that would ever happen. Why did I ever go back to the leaf? I mutter with a sigh as we continue to make our way through the village. It was in the hopes that I could have those that are truly loyal to me join us. We enter the hideout, and in here we have a door that lead to a living room that has a large couch, flat screen TV and two chairs on each side of the large couch. A kitchen is off to the left with a hallway to the right that has more doors that lead to other rooms, and finally a door right in front of us. Pain would like to meet you in her office. Itachi says to me softly. I give a nod before I kiss Itachi on the cheek, making a light pink blush appear as Kisame pouts in jealously with arms crossed. Thank you, girls. I thank them before I enter the room. It has a round table with chairs around it. At the end of the table is two women. One has short orange hair, gray eyes with 3 black rings in each eye, piercings in her face and C-cup. The other woman in the room has short blue hair, a paper flower in her hair, a piercing in her lower lip and C-cup as well, and they are both wearing a black cloak with reed clouds. They look up at the sound of the door opening with smiles on their faces. Once they see me, I make my way over and I take a seat in the free chair. Hello Naruto-kun, so how was your time back in Konoha? Pain asks me with a raised eyebrow and a curious tone before I let out a soft but disappointed sigh as I lean back in my chair. Terrible, nothing changed, plus that traitorous snake is back. They cleared him of all charges. I tell them before I trail off, not sure how to bring up my thoughts, and they seem to notice. What is it, Naruto-kun? You know you can tell us anything, right? Conan asks me, and Pain nods her head as she agrees with what Conan just said. Now is the best time to tell them, I guess. I know that there is a small amount of people that are truly my friends in that village, so I plan to meet up with them just outside of the village in a few days, and one of those few people happened to be Lady Tsunade of the Sanin. I tell the both of them, and I can see that they are now thinking over the new information that I just gave them on what is happening in the Hidden Leaf. Alright then, you meet up with them in a few days and then we can start our plan, as I take it that you aren't gonna be leaving us again. Conan asks as she walks around my seat. She wraps her arms around my neck and placing her head on my shoulder as she takes a seat in my lap. Yep, I say as I drag one of my clawed fingers against the metal of the headband, making a slash across the symbol, gaining 2 soft smiles from both of the women in the room with me. Everyone sure be returning about now so we can let them know what is going on. I nod to her before we all get up and walk out into the living room, ready for the others to get here. Pain, Conan and I all step into the main room. We see that everyone is indeed back and that there is currently an argument going on between 2 members as the others just watched the 2. Bitch, you're just jealous that Naruto-kun likes my more than your speed bumps. A silver-haired woman says. Her name is Hidan. She has an hourglass figure that could give Mei Terumi's DD Cup a run for their money. She is wearing the same cloak as everybody in the room, but it is parted at the top, showing a lot of cleavage. She also has a 3-tri scythe. Big aren't everything, you cow. A woman with long blonde hair that is tied into a ponytail with her bangs covering one of her eyes says. Her name is Deidara. She has perky B borderline C cup. If you were to look at her hands, then you would see 2 mouths, one on each. Why, you little, Hidan starts to say with a growl in her voice as she glares at Deidara, and before she can continue that sentence, I decide to break this fight up before there is any bloodshed. Girls, there's no need to fight. I say to them with a calming tone of voice as I manage to get in between the 2 of them. They glare at each other, but other than that they stop the fight. I look around to see that Zetu is up against the wall. Kakazu and Sasori are on the couch watching TV with Itachi and Kisame before Pain clears her throat to get everyone's attention onto her. From this point on, Naruto-kun has abandoned his village. She says with her arms crossed over her chest as everyone's eyes light up at the news she gave, with a few cheers being made as well. But before we start the plan, I need to meet up with the few people that are my true friends from the village in a few days. I say, and I can see the worried looks on their faces, and I can't help the soft smile that makes his way on my face at the fact that they are all that worried about me. Are you sure about that, Naruto-kun? I doubt that Tsunade would let you leave that place again. Kakazu asks, and I give her a soft smile that gains me a light pink blush coloring her cheeks. I wouldn't worry about her as she is one of the ones that are on my side. Also, I doubt that she would be Hokage still by the time we meet up just outside the village. I explain, and I can see the confusion in the eyes of most of the girls except for Itachi and Kisame as they picked me up. What do you mean that she would most likely no longer be the Hokage of the Leaf Village in a few days? Sasori asks me from her place on the couch with a light curious tone in her soft voice. The council thought it would be a god idea to have Sasuke be the next Hokage of the village, and with how she reacted rather badly, I believe that he will be in power in a few days. I explain with a dark growl in the back of my throat at the mere mention of that disloyal bastard's name. So we will have one of the 3 legendary Sannin back on our side? Kisame asks with a raised eyebrow. I give her a soft smile with a nod, and it seems that everyone is thinking this over. I want to see if we can get Suna to side with us, as Gaara is a close friend, so it shouldn't be too hard. I also know that Sasuke knows this, but he doesn't know about me heading to the Leaf. I say our best bet would be to have 3 of my shadow clones head towards Suna, 2 of them hanged while I meet up with Tsunade. I explain what our next successful move would most likely be, so that there will be an even lower change at us getting caught by the idiotic people of the Leaf. That would be the best option that we have at the moment. Sasori and Deidara, the two of you will go with him just in case of trouble. Pain says. Sasori stands up as Deidara pokes her tongue out at Hidan. She responds with a middle finger and a glare at the blonde. I make my way to the door with a fond shake of the head before Deidara and Sasori both make their way after me. Shadow clone Justu. I say just before we leave the base. 2 out of my 3 clones henge into Deidara and Sasori before they make their way towards Suna, as they already know the plan. I place a straw hat on that has 2 holes for my ears before I offer an arm to them before we make our way out of the village towards the village hidden in the leaves to increase our forces a bit. Sasuke's POV, Konoha Hokage office 2 days later. I enter my new office with a smirk as last night Tsunade was kicked out of the seat and she left without much of a fight, though I don't care why. As I am about to sit down there is a knock. Come in. I call out through the door as a few old council members came in. I can see that they don't look happy about something, and I think to myself, what do these suck-ups want now? Hokage-sama, we were just wondering what you were going to do about the demon. One of the council members, Sakura's mother, I think, asks me with her voice full of venom. I lean back in my chair as I think over what can be done about the idiot Naruto and how I can get his power. If I know the Dobi like I do, then he will head towards Suna before he does anything else, as he has a friend that lives there. Now leave me. I order the old fools before me in a cold tone, but all they do is smile at me before they bow at their waist in respect, and I smirk down at the fools. Yes, Hokage-sama. They say before they leave me alone on my office. I snap my fingers and one of my Anbu guards show up in a kneeling position, and this causes me to smirk even wider. Bring me both Team Kurenai and Team Guy to my office for a mission at once. The Anbu vanishes without a word to complete their order. After a few minutes later, I have both teams before me. You wanted to see us, Lord Hokage? Both Team Guy and Team Kurenai ask me with a bow at the waist while I read an interesting little file on one of my classmates, before I look up at Hinata. It says here that you were on a mission by the third to be the reason that Naruto was to stay so we could turn him into a weapon, and Sakura was to make him have a fear of women. I say to the young Hyuga heir standing before me, and she nods her head ever so slightly to my words. I was to confess my feelings to him when he became either way too powerful to control or he became a rogue ninja. Hinata says without a stutter in her voice, the truth is that it was all an act to make Naruto think that she was this sweet, innocent and naive girl that she clearing is not. I'm sending the 6 of you out on a mission to bring the demon back here, as we believe that he is on his way to Suna to meet up with Gaara. I explain, gaining 6 nods in return with the best trackers that we have in the Leaf along with Guy's team as backup. He doesn't have a chance. Is there anything else that we need to do other than to retrieve Naruto? Neji asks me with a raised eyebrow, with the others all slightly nodding their heads in agreement to his question. You 6 are to make sure that they do not ally with Naruto, and if you run into him, then you are to bring him back here for his judgment. Do I make myself clear? I say with a dark tone in my voice to get my point across, and that I will not accept any type of failure from any of them. And if he is with any allies of his. Kiba decides to ask me as Akamaru lets out a soft growl while Kiba strokes his fur. They must be impatient to go and teach that lowly demon a lesson or two. If it is Itachi, then bring her in as well. Anyone else, you can do as you wish, now go. The 6 bow to me once again before they vanish from my sight to get ready for their trip towards Suna. Naruto's POV. Sasori, Deidara and I are almost at the meeting spot that is located just outside of the small southeast gate of the Leaf, as very few people ever bother to use it outside of a handful of missions. I am glad to see that you came after all. I say with a smile in my voice as I see the small group before us. They all turn towards my voice, and with both Kiba and Akamaru they know it is me. Naruto, I am so sorry for what happened with the council, I really am. Tsunade says as she pulls me into a hug that I return. I pull back from her with a small smile before I take a look over at my true friends. From left to right we have Enko, Kiba with Akamaru, Shizune with Tonton the pig, Shikamaru, and lastly Tsunade herself. So these are my closest friends that are on my side. It's alright Tsunade really. I am just glad that I know now who I can trust and that you all had trusted me enough to be here. I tell her with my smile still in place before I see that she lets her shoulders drop in relief that I'm not mad with her. I notice the worried look on Kiba's face. There is something you should know Naruto. Kiba looks even more worried now than he did before and I make my way over to him and place a hand on his shoulder in a comforting way. What is it? You can tell me anything, you know that right? I ask him with a light and understanding tone of voice and that seems to help him calm down a little bit as he takes a deep breath in. Team Guy and Kurenai have been ordered to go after you and Suna to bring you back here. Kiba explains and I nod as I take what he said in. I honestly suspected that Sasuke would do this. Thank you for telling me Kiba, I knew he would do something like this. Since it takes 3 days to get to Suna, how long before you have to leave? I mutter with disdain before I turn to ask him the last part. I can see that the others are all watching us interested in what I'll do next. An hour. He replies to my question as Akamaru gives a low whine. I crouch down and with a smile I run my fingers lightly through his fur before I give him a light scratch behind the ear. Alright, this is what we will do. Kiba, you go on as if nothing is out of the normal while the rest of us head back to the hideout for about a little break and so that you get settled in. I then will head back out towards Suna as I need to talk with Gaara in person, alright? I ask the small group before me only to find 2 not very happy Akatsuki members looking at me with hands on their hips. You are not going without one or both us with you just in case, Naruto-kun. They both say to me in perfect sync and I think that is one of the only times that they will agree on anything. Alright, and I doubt that Pain would be very happy if I went on my own either, so I will see you in a few days Kiba. I agree with them before I turn to face Kiba and he gives me a nod before he heads back into the village so that he is not suspected by the rest of the Hidden Leaf village. How are we going to get there and for you to get to Suna in time? Anko asks me with her arms crossed over her chest as I give her a wicked grin that gains giggles from both Deidara and Sasori. Simple my dear Anko, all you need to do is make sure that you are either holding onto me or holding onto someone who is. I explain to her as Sasori and Deidara take their place on either side of me followed by Tsunade, Shizune with Taunton, Anko herself and finally Shikamaru. Once everyone was ready I teleport us all to just outside the entry point of the hideout before we head in. Pain looks over at us with a raised eyebrow but other than that she doesn't say anything. So these are the few people that didn't turn their backs on you? Zetu asks me with a light tone as everyone in the room turns towards us and most just raise an eyebrow at who is now here. There is one more but he will be join us in 3 days so that he doesn't get found out, well before he is able to get any more info for us to use against them. I say with a large fox-like grin on my lips that gain a few sharp and dangerous smirks in return from the girls before me. Well, you better go and show them their rooms and get them settled in as I take it that you will be going to Suna in person afterwards. Conan asks with a hand on her hip and a raised eyebrow also. I can hear the slight pout in her words and that makes me mentally grin at the sound. Yeah, and the reason why I sent the shadow clones at all, it was in case the Leafs sent someone after me before now. I explained before I was asked about my clones gaining looks of understanding before I lead the 4 now ex-Leaf ninja down one of the side hallways to their new rooms. We will see you in a few days, right Naruto? Shizune asks me. I give her a small smile on my face with a nod of the head and that seemed to calm her down a little bit. After a day of rest and making sure everyone is settled I head to the entrance with Deidara and Sasori by my side again. Don't worry, we will be back here safe before you know it. I say before I teleport myself and my 2 traveling companions to where my clones are a few hours away from Suna. I dispel them to find that nothing has really happened so we continue our way to Suna with a few laughs. Halt, explain your reason for coming here. 2 Suna ninja guard the gate ask as so I decide to take my bamboo hat off so that I am now showing my face to them with a disarming smile. We are here to see Gaara as we have some things that we would like to talk with him about. I say and I can see that the guards are just about to attack us but a calm voice calls out. I had told you that if Naruto was to come here, he was to be escorted to my office. The guards turn to find Gaara is making his way over to us and he doesn't look happy with the guards. But Gaara-sama, they are. One of the guards tried to explain why they were caught trying to attack on of their Cage's closest friends and also disobeying a direct order from him. I know full well who they are, and as long as Naruto is with them, then they are allowed into my village, understood? Gaara asks the two guards with a blank look and arms crossed. Hi. They both say as they nod their head before they go back to their posts. Gaara then looks over at me. I give him an innocent-looking smile with a slight shrug of the shoulders as well. Come, we can talk some more in my office. Gaara says. I nod in agreement before the four of us began to walk into Suna. The first thing I notice as we enter Gaara's office, besides there being two chairs on this side of his desk, is Temari and Kankuro standing just behind their brother's desk waiting for us four. Temari, Kankuro. I greet them with a smile as I take a seat in one chair and Deidara comes over and sits in my lap, leaving the other chair for Sasori to take. She did with a small cute pout. Naruto, I see that you have joined the Akatsuki, hopefully for good, yes? Gaara asks me with a raised eyebrow and I give him a smile confirming this thoughts. When I first joined the Akatsuki, I had sent a letter out to Gaara to explain why. I was a little worried that he would tell Tsunade almost instantly, but he sent a letter back saying he understood and was behind me no matter what. Yeah, I have that damn village was a waste of time. We came here to gain your alliance with our village and to inform you of me switching sides. I tell him with a slight shrug. I notice that Temari seems to be a little worried and I am pretty sure that she is a little worried about Shikamaru. What is it, Temari? What's wrong? Kankuro asks her with a concerned look. It seems that I'm not the only one to notice her worried look. Gaara looks over at his siblings with worry in his eyes. I think I might know what is worrying her, and don't worry, I had a few loyal friends of mine defect from that place along with me and Shika's one of them. I tell her and the relief in her eyes makes me smile, a soft smile similar to that of an older brother. Shika better look after her or else. Anyway, I will declare our new alliance and the end our old one with the hidden leaf at the next meeting. So I would like it if you could stay till then to help show my council why on we should switch sides. Gaara says to me as he grabs a piece of paper off of his desk and writes on it. I had already known that there was a real possibility of us needing to meet with the council here. I had thought so. If that is what we need to do, then that is what we got to do. I say to my best friend as we the four of us stand up, since there is nothing else we that can really do right now. Come on, I'll show you to our place, as Gaara refuses to let his best friend spend a night in a hotel while staying, and of course Deidara and Sasori are welcomed. Temari tells me with a smile before she leads us out of her brother's office and down the main street towards her family's home. So how long do you think it will be before the council will have a meeting? I ask her as we make our way through the streets of the village with many smiling and waving as we pass them by. I never know with them, but I wanted to say thank you, Naruto, for taking Shika with you. Temari says with a shrug and a light scoff before her tone of voice becomes a tiny bit softer than normal with a hint nerves. I let my face soften a little into an expression similar to that of a brother. I would never turn my back on a loyal and true friend of mine like Shikamaru, so don't worry, you'll be able to see him in a few days. I reassure her and she gives me a smile before we enter the Cage family home. This is a nice and very spacious place with a few different floors. 2 days later. So yesterday was the meeting and I am happy to know that I had able to convince the elders that they shouldn't stay allies with the Leaf since they have a traitor as their Hokage now. I am currently looking over the whole sand village from my room calmly before I feel 6 chakra signatures. Deidara, Sasori, it looks like we have some company heading this way. I say to the 2 girls that are relaxing on my large bed at the moment. They look up at me from what they are doing. Oh, Deidara asks with a raised eyebrow from her position of lying on her stomach while Sasori is up at the head of the bed leaning against the wall watching with her own raised eyebrow. Yes, we better tell Gaara of this before we go meet them at the gate. I say to them as I make my way slowly to the door before I hear shuffling behind me as they follow after me. Once we are outside Gaara's office, I knock on the door lightly and after a few minutes of waiting we enter. Naruto, what is it that you need? Gaara asks with a confused tone of voice once he looks up from doing some important paperwork and sees that it is me. I make my way over to his desk. The ninja from Konoha are almost here to take me back to their village. I say to my best friend with arms crossed over my chest. He does not look that happy with what I had just told him. I can have them refused entry before I get there and talk with them or have them brought straight to my office. Gaara says, but I shake my head at him with a small thankful smile on my lips. No, it's alright, I would like to fight them outside of the village so that no one was to get hurt and to make sure that my undercover friend doesn't get hurt. I explain to him and he thinks this over before nodding his head in understanding before the girls and I head to the main gate. After waiting for a little while within the shadow of the large rock wall I can see the six-leaf ninja. It's about time we got here as I hate the desert. I hear Kiba say as they are just about to enter till two Suna ninja block the path confusing all but one ninja and nin dog of the group before us. Halt intruder, what is your business with our village? One of the guards asks the group. Neji takes a step forward and I can already tell that he is the one in charge of the mission to get me. We were told that a dangerous traitor from our village was found heading to your village, so we came in place of our Hokage to collect him. Neji says with a cool and calm tone of voice, causing the guards to look at each other rather confused with what he's saying. I share a look with Sasori and Deidara just before we make our way slowly over to the group of 8 all before us. I don't think Gaara would be happy that you ain't at your posts. We'll take care of this. I say to the guards. They nod in understanding and vanish back to their proper posts at the gate. We are here to take you back, Naruto, home with us. Neji tells me, still in that cool and collected tone of voice. I knew that they would try and convince me with the whole friend thing. Why would I ever want to go back to that hell called a village? I ask, playing along with their games, all the while I realize some ki at them all but Kiba to put them on the edge a little. Why? Because we're your friends, Naruto, that's why you should come home. Tenten continues with their little story of being my friends, causing me to laugh out in amusement at her words. That's funny because none you were there to help me through anything. I sneer at them all but Kiba, as he was the only one besides Shika that had bothered to help me through it all. Come on Naruto, you were just mad, let's just go back and let everything go back to normal. Lee says, pissing me off as I am getting real tired of their games, and it seems that Sasori is as well. So what? You want him to go back to a village that doesn't give a damn about him? That also on a daily basis tries to kill him no matter what he does to protect their pathetic lives. Sasori spat at the group, letting her anger show through her words, and it's pissing the 5 Konoha nin off. Naruto, why did you leave me behind? Hinata asks me with a stutter in her voice and tears in the corner of her eyes as she took a step towards me with a sad look on her face as well. Did you say something? I ask her with a light tone, as if I didn't know about this new game of theirs to get me to come back to the village to be a weapon that they can use and abuse. Naruto, don't you get that I love you? Please come back with us, Naruto, I can't live without you, I am begging you to come back with us. Hinata says as the tears flow down her cheeks, causing me start laughing while I notice out the corner of my eye Deidara and Sasori glare daggers at her. Did you really believe that I would ever believe that horse shit you would dare call acting? I ask the Konoha nin before me with a dark smile on my lips as my tails move dangerously around. I'm not acting. I really do love you, Naruto-kun. Hinata says to me with even more tears flowing down her face as I reach into my cloak and pull out a copy of Hinata's file and I opened it. Hinata Hyuga is to be trained in capturing and or keeping the demon within the village. Training is to also increase her chances of carrying its offspring. Training will include gaining experience and chakra manipulation. Once carrying its offspring, she is to kill it. I finish reading the file I have with a growl, leaving me as my tails are swaying behind me very dangerously now. Lies. That folder is nothing but lies made by the Akatsuki to keep you away from me. Hinata begs me, and I can see that her little statement has pissed my 2 companies and Kiba off. You were trained to keep me in the village or try to get me back, just so you could have my child then kill me so the village can train them into a weapon to use. I'm not as stupid as you think, you Hyuga bitch, so stop lying to me. I roar with my fangs bared only to gain 5 shocked expressions as I threw the file down, spreading the papers and picture into the desert sand for all to see. This wasn't happen, Tenten mutters in shock, so they all must have thought that I was an idiot demon, they must had thought that this would have been a simple mission to do. We can't take them all on at once, we need to split them up, me and Shino will take on Deidara. Tenten and Liu will take on Sasori, leaving Kiba and Hinata to try and keep Naruto busy until we take those two out. Neji tells his team, gaining 6 nods. Lee jumps into the air, he slams his leg down between the girls and me, making as separate as sand from the kick blocks our view. Sasori's POV. I look around me as I wait for the sand to clear so that I can get back to Naruto-kun when I have to dodge a windmill shrunken and jump out of the dust cloud followed by Tenten and Lee. You believe it would smart to break us up to take us on at the same time? That's so foolish. I say to them in a matter-of-fact tone, which got a growl from Tenten as she reached for her scroll. Don't you dare underestimate us, as we will get you and that demon traitor, Lee, now. Lee then ran at me, closing the gap between us before he started unleashing punches and kicks that I dodged or countered. I notice that Tenten isn't fighting me, so what does she have planned, I wonder? I can hear the unraveling of a summoning scroll, but most of my attention is on dodging Lee. As I continue to dodge him, I notice kunais and shurikens heading towards me, so I have to act fast. She was a most unwo. Lee starts to say, and before he could finish I sent out a metal lash to stab him in the shoulder while I am now currently hidden within the sand of the desert. Lee. Tenten yells out as the lash retreats back into the sand, and out comes a 4-legged puppet resembling a lizard with a huge mouth. The lizard opens its mouth wide, and as I come out of my large puppet the lash retracts back into my sleeve, as I watch Lee fall to the ground frozen. You bitch, what did you do to him? Tenten yells at me before she falls to the ground as well. After the lash retreats back into the sand by her leg, she should really pay more attention than this. A nerve toxin has been entered into your systems. Within a week you will both die, and what a painful week that will be for you. I say to them with an almost sadistic smile on my face before the lizard closes its mouth around me and buries itself again to find my other 2 companies. Deidara's POV. The moment the sand wall comes up I waste no time at all in getting out of the large dust cloud by flying on one of my clay birds. Look around for where an attack from the Konoha ninja. Great. Just my luck that we got separated, I better find. I begin to mutter, but I am unable to finish as a swarm of bugs shot straight at the bird, so I make my bird dodge the attack. I look around to see where it came from, but at that same moment another swarm hit the bird dead on. So now I have to land back down on the ground with the high chance of the leaf ninja having a plan. Don't think that you can win when fate has already decided that the winners of this fight will be us. Neji says to me with that annoyingly stuck-up tone of his. I see that he activated his Byakugan, but I just let out a cruel laugh as I find this whole thing highly amusing to watch and listen to. If you 2 are here, your teammates are already as good as dead. I say while I laugh even harder, and I can tell that it's pissing them off. Good, they are less likely to think their attacks through. Why, you little, the Hyuga starts to say to me before we hear an explosion, and I can feel a large and cruel grin making its way onto my face again, as that sound can only mean one thing. That must be Naruto-kun killing off the 2 fools that you had decided send to fight against him. Such a pity. I say with a mocking tone near the end, just to piss them off even more. Before they can respond, a puppet lizard shoots out of the sand and opens its mouth to reveal Sasori to us. Deidara, come on, let's get going, as Naruto-kun must be getting bored with those 2 fools that are fighting against him right now. Sasori says with a rather cold tone of voice as I shake my head with a small chuckle, leaving me at the mental images of what he could be doing to them. You have a point. I say as I make my way over to her and her large puppet before Sasori turns to face the Hyuga with a cold, dead gaze in her eyes and her arms crossed over her chest. Your teammates are going to die if you don't leave now, so be lucky that Naruto-kun doesn't want to kill any of you yet. She says with a cold and dead tone. Before Neji or Shino can say and do anything, I detonate the bird that I was on, blinding Neji and Shino and letting us escape. Naruto's POV. I'm standing before Kiba and Hinata with a bored expression and arms crossed over my chest. My ear twitches before Hinata runs at me with her fists glowing with the gentle fist technique. Is that the best that you can do? I cruelly taunt her as I continue to dodge all of her attacks. I bring up a wall of sand, allowing me to hinge into Hinata as cover for Kiba to attack her now. Hardly you, demon. Hinata yells out at me before she decides to kick down the wall and clear out the dust cloud to reveal me standing not that far from her in the same fighting stance. Great, now there are now two Hinatas, so which one is the real one, boy? Kiba says as he looks between us slowly, and when our eyes meet he lets the corner of his lips curl upwards. He shares a look with Akamaru before they both run at and attack the real Hinata Hyuga rather harshly. Kiba, you idiot, I'm the real Hinata, she says, but he doesn't listen to her as he continues to attack along with Akamaru. I slowly make my way over to them with a cold and cruel grin on my lips. As much as I would love to continue this little fight of ours, I don't want to kill you, at least not yet. I say before I have two clay foxes come out of the sand and exploded, knocking the Hyuga out. I undo my hinge just as one of Sasori's puppets comes digging out the sand next to me. Looks like you had a lot of fun dealing with the Hyuga, bitch. Deidara says with a dark smile on her lips before Kiba, Akamaru and I get in the puppet with them and head back to our base. So you learn anything else within the last few days since we last spoke? I ask Kiba as three of us take a seat to give Sasori a little more room so that she can use her chakra strings properly. Well, nothing much besides seeing one of Suna's messenger birds fly towards Konoha. If I have to guess, I would say that Sasuke will not be happy with whatever the messenger hawk has. Kiba says to us with a shrug of the shoulders as he pets Akamaru rather absent-mindedly. The girls and I all share a laugh at the reaction that Sasuke might have once he sees the message. Once we reach the gate of the hidden cloud village, we get out of the puppet and continue in on foot. I notice that Kiba is looking around in wonder and confusion before we enter the base. You're back. One of the girls call out in joy as we enter the main room to find that they are all waiting for us, and I see that Shikamaru is off to the side looking a little bit out of place here. Sorry it took so long, but I can safely say that Suna are now allied with us instead. I say to the group with a smile, and everyone in the room cheers that we made the Leaf lose a great ally. So what's the next part of the plan? Kisame asks me with a curious tone in her voice as I take a seat on the large couch next to her. I see the confused looks my friends form the Leaf have. What plan is she talking about, Naruto? What is going through that head of yours now? Anko asks me just as Kiba, Shikamaru, Tsunade and Shizune all agree with what she had asked me. Do you really think that it's a good idea to just go and tell them the plan when they aren't even a part of the Akatsuki? Hidan asks me with a narrowed down look at the now ex-Konoha ninja, with a few of the other girls all nodding their heads. I can see where they are coming from. Then what do we do to prove that we are here to stay and won't ditch out on him? Shizune asks with a firm look on her face that the small group with her all share it on their own faces also. Besides putting a slash through your headbands? Kakazu asks with a sarcastic tone just as Kiba, Shika and Anko grab out their kunais and put a slash through the symbols on their hitai. That might be a really good start, but are you all willing to take his mark though? Zestu asks with a challenging tone in her voice. I watch as my friends all look at each other a bit confused. What do you mean by take his mark? Anko asks Zestu with a guarded look in her eyes before I take a step forward between the two groups with a soft but disarming smile on my thin lips. It's just a small tattoo-like mark of a nine-tailed fox protecting something that symbolizes you, that is all. You don't have to take it if you don't want to. I'm not going to force you. I explain to them with a light tone of voice, and I see that they are all thinking over the possibility of taking it on. Is there anything else about the mark that we need to know, now? Shika asks me with his normal bored tone of voice from where he is leaning up against the wall with his hands in pockets. Yeah, You see, the tattoos will act same way as the kunai that my father used for his Harishin when you are in trouble. I tell them as I notice that their eyes all widen slightly at what I had just told them about the tattoo that they might be getting from me by within the next few days. Will we be able to think about it and tell you our answers in the next few days, Naruto? Shizune asks me, and I give a small nod with a light smile on my face to the group of 5x Leaf ninjas. Yes, like I said, I don't want to make you take this mark against your will. Why don't we all go to bed, as it has been a long past few days? I tell them before I turn my question to everyone that is around me in the main lounge. I see that everyone here thinks it over before they all agree. Alright, as that is only far. Night, Naruto-kun. Conan says with a soft tone. The rest of the official Akatsuki members say good night to me along with her before they head off to their rooms. Night, Naruto. My friends from the Leafs say to me before they also head off to get some much needed sleep. I'll need to see if I can get the boys their own homes not that far from base. Night all. I say with a light smile on my lips, but once I'm alone I let a fox-like grin slip onto my features as I think over what will happen once they all get my mark tattooed onto them. The world better be ready for when I unleash my full plan, as no one will be able to hide once I am done. Sasuke's POV, Konoha Hokage office 4 days later. I am going over some plans I have about dealing with the dead last demon called Naruto and how I will make his power my own when there is a sudden and urgent knock on my office door. Come in. I call out, wondering who it could possibly be that would even dare to bother me right now. The door opens and I find that the 2 teams I had sent after Naruto have come back. Lord Hokage, Lee and Tenten are in the hospital because of poisoning. Kiba is missing and we have reason to think that Naruto had taken him. Neji says, and I can feel a scroll forming on my lips at his words. It seemed that the idiot is smarter than he let others see if he took Kiba along. Lord Hokage, you need to see this. One of my Anbu says in a panicked voice as they come into the office and hands me a scroll. I read through it only to find that it's from the sand. Oh shit. It looks like the demon was able to convince Suna to side with him, as this is a letter saying that the sand and leaf are no longer allies. I growl darkly. I will get you, Naruto, and your power will be mine. The reaming members of Team Guy and Team Kurenai all stiffen a bit in shock before me. What? They say before my glare silences them all and they bow their heads in submission. Good, now a way to get Naruto and Kiba back, as he is one of the best trackers we have. I have got it. Find me Tsunade, Shikamaru and possibly Anko and bring the 3 of them here now. I yell at some of my Anbu and they leave to follow their orders. After a few moments my Anbu return. We couldn't find them anywhere in the village, Hokage-sama. In fact, no one has seen them for about a week. My Anbu say to me from their kneeling positions before me as the room becomes deathly quiet and I stare down at the Anbu before me, thinking over this info they told me. What about Shizune? She goes everywhere that Tsunade goes. I say and they shake their heads, meaning that no one has seen her within a week as well. Did they leave with the dead last? Lord Hokage. What is it? Hinata asks with a slightly worried look on her face. I lean back in my seat and let out a deep breath while I come up with a plan to get everything that I deserve. I am putting Shikamaru, Anko, Tsunade and Shizune all into the bingo books as traitors and that they are to be brought back alive to face punishment for helping Naruto. Am I understood? I say as I get out the bingo book and started putting the in group of 5 into the pages of the book. Yes, Hokage. I hear from the group of ninja, either standing or kneeling before me. Before I wave them off and they leave me alone in my office, I get up from my seat to look out my window. It's your move, Naruto. You better choose wisely, but it doesn't matter, as I will win this little game of ours, with the prize being your power and everything you hold dear belong to me. I mutter rather darkly to myself as I let a dangerous grin slip onto my lips at the mere thought of it all. I can imagine rather vividly what his face will look like at the sight of me gaining all of his power before I give Itachi her punishment for everything that she has done in this life to me and my clan. Tsunade's POV. We are all sitting in the main lounge of the base just relaxing after Anko, Shizune and I all got our tattoos and the boys got a similar one, but it is slightly different than ours, but not by much. How does it feel to be 17 once again? Itachi asks us with a smirk on her lips. A side effect of getting the tattoo was that the three of us all aged back to our late teens. That was only if we had wanted ourselves to be re-energized, aka we become younger than we were before. It's gonna be harder to find us, that is for sure. Anko says, smiling. The reason is because Naruto's chakra had merged with the nine tails, so when we got the tattoo from him we got younger. How do you even know if they're going to be looking for us? Shizune asks, confused, as she holds Taunton in her arms. Shikamaru rolls his eyes at her from his place against the wall once again. We've been gone for about a week, maybe longer, and they will connect the dots that we left with Naruto or a few days after he officially left the village. He says, and I have to agree with his logic on that, but just as Anko said, it will be a little harder for the Leaf to find any of us now as well. He's right, as I am pretty sure that they all think Kiba was taken so that they can't track any of us down. He might be in the clear of the village for now, but I don't know how long that will last. I say with a sigh, leaving my pale lips before I decide to get up from my seat with a full body stretch and start to make my way towards the long hallway that leads down to all of our bedrooms. Where are you going? Hidan asks me with a curious tone in her voice as she looks up at me from cleaning her scythe. I pause in my steps as I turn to give her my full attention with a smile. To see what Naruto-kun is doing. I say to her before I make my way down the long hallway, and once I reach Naruto's bedroom, I give a few light knocks on the slightly ajar door before me. Come in. I can hear Naruto say to me from within the room. I slowly enter to find him at his desk reading over a few different scrolls and the many maps of the whole shinobi world. You sure you can't do any of that later? I ask with a soft tone in my voice as I make my way over. He looks up from his work with a worn smile on his lips as he pushes away from the desk. How are you enjoying not only being young again, but the small fact that you are now a part of the Akatsuki? He asks me with a light, curious tone in his voice as I take a seat on his lap and his arms wrap around my waist lightly to hold me in place on his lap while I lean back against him. Well, I get to enjoy my youth once again without making the same mistakes form the first time around, and for the fact that I'm now a part of the Akatsuki, as long I'm with you it's fine. I tell him before I mutter the last part under my breath in the hope that he didn't hear the last bit.